Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to our next snippet. This was snippet 35 that I completed not long ago, and now we're going to work on snippet 36. And again, as per usual, the card is 4 inches by 6 inches and it's Pink Frog smooth card. Whatever card is your preference is absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my latest releases again, and I'm going to use the Petal Path, and I'm going to use this image here. So what I'm going to do first, I've got my stamp on the acrylic block and I'm just going to dab that just to make sure no colour comes off there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, I've got spiced marmalade, candied apple and lumberjack plaid. So whichever colours you prefer is absolutely fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink the stamp first of all over with the spiced marmalade. I'm then going to take some candied apple and just add touches of the candied apple here and there to the flower. I'm then going to take lumberjack plaid, which will be a little bit darker and deeper, and just add a little bit more of that, but not covering the whole of the orange. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spritzer and I'm going to spritz the stamp excuse me, just a couple of times with water. If I just tilt that, you can see the water on the stamp. In fact, you've got it all around the stamp, and there's no rush. You've got time to just wipe your acrylic block if you need to stop your hand from slipping. But you can see that water on there. So what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to stamp the floral just here, like so, just with those 3 colours. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow that ink just to absorb onto the card. I'm not going to lift it too soon. I'm just going to let it do what it needs to do, and that's so it just absorbs into the card and does what it needs to. Because I'm using the oxides, I don't really need to stamp super firm. I'm just letting the ink absorb in there, and I don't even have to lever the acrylic block because you're going for a more subtle effect. And that is your floral just stamped with the Distress Oxides. Now, what if you wanted to leave it like that and just put a sentiment on, you'd have a clean and simple card. Beautiful. So let's place that on one side, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean the stamp of any Distress Oxide because that will affect the VersaFine Clay. So what I'm going to do then is just take a scrap of card, and then I'm going to stamp the floral in Nocturne ink, black ink. Just allow that on there and just stamp in the Nocturne ink. And then again, just let that absorb into the card and don't lift it too soon. Don't be in a rush to lift it. Just because I'm doing the snippets that are 15-minute slots doesn't mean you have to rush that. You can just take your time and still have, you know, even if you only got a small amount of time to fit in some crafting, you can still take your time and making sure you get a really good image. So there's my floral, and I've actually cut the floral out. So I've got the floral on its own, and that will just be as a contrast just against the other floral. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to take Stencil Trifoliatrix 179, and I'm going to use the stencil. And then what I'm going to do is place the stencil on my card, and then I'm just going to take the Nocturne ink once more, a piece of cut and dry foam or an ink blending tool, whichever works for you. Let's move that out of the way, and then we're just going to blend the ink through the stencil, just so that I can get one of my little sort of foliage kind of prints. So there we go. What you can do is you can wipe your stencil. Let's move that out of the way. You can wipe your stencil straight away and most of the ink will come off because it's not been allowed to dry. If it dries before you've got time to clean it, don't worry. You can just use some hand sanitizer just to clean that off if you want it clean straight away. So we've got the little bit of foliage and I've actually cut that out so that we've got that separate as well, because that will also be part of my composition, and we'll sort of have them like this with some of the orange just in the background. So what I'm going to do then is on the same stamp set, the Petal Path, there's a lovely background element. So I'm just going to use that element. Let's just move the stamp I was using just off there. And we'll just use an A7 acrylic block just to use the little bit of a background stamp that we've got here, just in the corner there. So let's just place that back on, move this out of the way. And I don't even know whether I've got that the right way up or not. So I'm going to take some of the grey morning mist, and I think what it's best to do is just test your stamp, just to make sure that you have got that stamp the right way. Because sometimes when you look at it on acrylic blocks, it's very difficult. So I'm just going to ink that up again with the morning mist. And what I'm going to do is just extend the design a little bit. So with a little bit of grey stamping here. And you don't have to press too hard. And the idea with my stamps is that you can extend them. So you can also create sort of your own kind of collage. So that's what I like about them. You can extend your designs to suit you. So what I'm going to do then is just play with my arrangement. Now it's all got stuck together. And am I going to add the foliage then, the floral? Yes, I think I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to then add these to my page. And I'm just, obviously, I won't stick every leaf down because I want the bit to be a little bit of movement in there. I didn't put any on the stem. Not a good start. So just add some adhesive to the stem. And you don't have to place it all down, but you do need to be mindful that you're working and adding these to a journal, or you might be adding them to your own handmade book. So if you are, you can't have too much dimension, but I would like a little bit of dimension on the floral. Not too much, but just a little bit. There we go. Let's just fasten that up, and then I'm just going to add a little touch of the pin flare just to the floral. And I still want to see that sort of orange behind. I want that pop of colour behind. I wonder what that was. It's just a little thingy of paper. So, because I'm using them glues, I think I've picked up crumbs of paper. Because I'm using the pin flare, I can just manoeuvre that a little bit, which is quite handy. So what I'm going to do then is sentiment. I was thinking, what do I want then? So I'm going to take a sentiment. So I'm going to, there you go, this one, which is on the same stamp set as well. So rather than just scramble taking stamps off, let's just use another acrylic block. Let's use this scrap of card, and we're going to use the black ink. And just, imagination has no limit. can pull that off later and just cut this. You can obviously split this up and cut this sentiment up into 2 layers if you wish. Let's just cut a little bit of that card down, just because I don't want it to be too bulky. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of Posca pen just around the edges, and you can see I sort of use my fingers, nails, just to hold it in place. Let's move those bits of paint because we don't want to get in too much of a mess. So then I'm going to add my Imagination Has No Limit just there. And you know, I really love these snippets, but the best bit is actually looking back on them. It's just, I find that it inspires me even more just to create different things, even if I want to create something that's more detailed. Absolutely love it. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to take a little bit of the lumberjack, take a little bit of that ink, just grab my water brush. Let's make sure that it's cleanish. Just take some of that, and then I'm just going to add some delicate splatters just to my card. There we go, that's absolutely plenty. Let's just give that a little bit of a clean. And we'll just wipe all that up. You can mop that up if you wish with another piece of card if you wish. And then, oh, there it is. We've got sort of these circles here that we can still use. So I can take the circle, that's on the floral that we stamped out, and then I can just add, just do I prefer, no, I definitely want it sort of here. There we go, let's add it there. I will be adding a little bit of colour to that, so I'm going to take my water brush. How long have I got? And then I'm going to take the orange, which is the spiced marmalade, and just pick up a little bit of the colour just to add to the circle. Just wipe that up. Then I'm going to take a little bit of, a little bit of the lumberjack, a little bit of water, and then just add a little bit of that red. Just, and what you can do is you let it dry and then come back in and add more depth of colour. But do that once it's dry, just because you don't want to sort of faff too much. There we go. So let's take our adhesive, and I'm going to leave that there, that red ink, just so that as soon as it's dried, I can just use it again, just to add a little bit more vibrancy, just so that you've got that, just to add a little bit more of that vibrancy, and keep going back and just blending that out. And that is your snippet finished. All you need to add is some white splatters to your design. Let's get some on there. That's it. And then when you've come back and added some more depth to your design, make sure that you add some touches of white, and make sure that you come in with your Inktense pencil underneath and add some shading underneath. And that's your next snippet. Love to all. Bye for now.